Okay, wave at 29. Clear up the mobs really quick. We're gonna grab some souls for the vaal LS so we can Dracosis a little faster. We'll drop it here, I guess, against Omniphobia. Let's be tank mod. Less ailments. That's my brittle is so low right now. That's actually one of the worst mods we can get for tank. Usually we should have at least 6% brittle or so, but because of the reduced ailment effect, we're down to 2%. We still do decent damage. They're going down like steadily. So one guy's down. Souls for the vaal LS. Okay, not two. Got to die fast. Yeah, the non-ailment effect is pretty strong as a defensive mod against us. Anything the build is scared of in this like simulacrum is basically if Coast does a stop move and it's like 2 waves come out. But other than that, he can't really hurt you. I haven't died in simulacrum yet. We've done 3 complete waves so far, so it's pretty comfortable. Okay, let's do the last wave. We actually don't even have to look at the mods. The thing mods do is make it slightly more tanky, or that's basically it. Right? They get tank mods, it takes slightly longer for me to kill them. Other than that, you don't even have to look at the mods on this build. We are ailment immune and crit immune, so those don't really do anything to us. So pretty safe with all the mods. Go Omniphobia one-on-one up here really quick. See my crit chance right there, the brittle's 4.8, that's what it usually is around. I think this is what is it, more HP? Yeah, more HP wave. Anything else for tank? Nope, this is the LE pen too. But as you can see, we're more than tanky enough that LE pen doesn't really matter to us. Okay. Coast is left. Up to the double vaal LS. That move where you attach the projectiles, I haven't gotten killed by it, but I have gotten low once or twice, depending on the mods of the wave. So your best bet is just to avoid it. Just sidestep when he does that move. Other than that, you can just face roll him. Alright, and wave 30. 3, 2, 1. Deathless. 15 Minotaur. So while mapping in this build, nothing can really hurt you. Probably the most dangerous thing is sometimes degen, but as long as you don't stay in degen too long, you should be fine for this build. Clear is pretty good from the LS. Damage is fine. Mostly use Whirling Blades as our movement skill and Flame Dash to get over certain obstacles. Right there, those toxic degen. That thing could hurt you if you don't have enough chaos res, but for my build, since we built for simulacrum, we do have 75 chaos res currently. So for this, you can just tank in. If it even hits. Just sit here in the rocks. So we should avoid that slow thing. So we can just drop double ball S and they're dead. Hey everybody, let's go over the gear for my version of Lightning Strike Champ. So for the claw, we are using just a standard triple flat elemental and then trying to get as much attack speed and crit if possible on the suffixes. We are currently using 800 elemental DPS claw, which is pretty good, but I finished all the regular content in the game, including the feared, with a 600 elemental DPS claw. So for the helmet, the important mods are the 15% effect of non-curse aura skills, because we are stacking our aura effect on this build, and the wrath reservation. This could be any other reservation. We could use determination, grace, wrath, and anger. But we did hit wrath because I got this in Uber Live myself, so that's the one we're using. The important mod is the mana reservation efficiency. We got that by spamming Deafening Essences of Loathing. You just want to just spam that until you get some good rolls. We got just strength and resist and high life. That's good enough. You can also hit suppression, which is also a good mod. For our amulet, since I got high stats in my ring and amulet, I didn't need any more strength or int. So the next best implicit for a amulet is regen, since this build doesn't have that much regen. So we're using a marble amulet. We are anointing sovereignty because we are stacking our aura effect for stronger auras, and reservation so we can fit in that extra 50% aura. Right now we have just high life and resistances for the rest of the mods. For the shield, the important mods to look for are avoid ailment, which we need a really high roll to get ailment immunity, and reduce damage from critical strikes. That makes it so critical strikes don't do extra damage to us. We also have a Watcher's Eye that combines with this to make us immune to crit damage. So for this ring, I fractured a T1 life roll onto a Vermilion, and then I just spammed the chaos rerolls until we got what we got. It's just resistance, and we hit the intelligence roll, which was useful for us. Everything else is not really important. It just try to get as much resistance and stats as possible. Same thing with this ring. This one we fractured T1 attacks or T1 accuracy, and then I just spammed for whatever we got. We ended up with some life and some resistances. The flat damage is actually sort of useful. The lightning roll is pretty low. The fizz roll is also pretty low, but whatever you can get is fine. So for our chest, I fractured spell suppression with the recombinators onto this, And then after that, I just spammed the Deafening Essence of Loathing once again for that banner reservation, since we are stacking auras. And eventually I got decent life, and then I Ailinged and we got some stats. I was looking for resist, but that's just what we got. And then you want to open prefix because you want life as extra ES, because we are using ghost stands. And for the implicit, so I just rolled for the non-curse aura effect, and then I also rolled for wrath. It could also be anger or a defensive aura effect if you want, but I opted for more damage since I felt like I was tanky enough. So for our gloves, we are looking for pierce, so the lightning strike projectiles can pierce for our clear, and we need strike skills additional nearby enemies. I was able to make these +2 ones, but you really only need +1 for a single target in most of the game. I cleared the entire game, including all the Ubers, with a +1 strike. The +2 is just for extra clear speed. And right here, we're looking for suppression and resistance and life. There's not any special mod you're really looking for, just like generic stats. Our belt is perseverance, I mean. And you're just buying this unique. It's very cheap. It's like 10 chaos. It gives us an onslaught because we are champion with fortify, and we have perma onslaught. Gives some decent res and some max life. And for the boots, we are going for some dragon scale boots for the max best armor / evasion base. So for these, we wanted a open suffix because between that and the implicit for avoid ailments and shield, and we have 20% from the tree, that makes us ailment immune. So try to get an open suffix on this build, or you can also opt for I would get a fractured suppression roll, and then you can just spam that with maybe a life essence until you get some good rolls. Because if you spam it with a loathing essence, that automatically adds avoid ailments as a mod, and if you have suppression or something good fractured already, it makes it much easier to roll. That's also another option if you don't want to look for open suffix for the avoid ailments. So for our flask, we just have a life flask, a quartz flask for phasing and clear. We switch this out for bossing sometimes with like a regular life flask, or usually I switch out for life flask, extra life flask, because you don't need phasing for bosses. Next flask is Quicksilver, standard Quicksilver, Granite flask, and a Jade flask. We need Granite and Jade because we're stacking up our armor and evasion. With all our gear on and just the auras on in the hideout, we have 62k armor and 70k evasion. Because of the perseverance, every 200 of the lowest stat, we get 1% increased damage. So right now we have 6200, about 6300. So it's 63 times 5 worth of damage, so that's almost over 300% attack damage just from the belt. We also have some ES, 779 ES. Most of that is from the chest, the life as extra ES. So my evasion armor are extremely high. And we have some life regen, mostly from this. And we are, of course, 100% spell suppressed against spells. The resistances are just 75, 75, 75. We have 75 chaos res because I was using this build to farm simulacrum. Okay, let's go over the gems now. So in my helmet, I have an anger, life tap, divine blessing, and increased duration. This is just for our temporary aura, extra boosted damage. We are using increased duration because we want the extra timer just for quality life. It gives 20-second buff. Without the increased duration, we are down to 11 seconds, which feels much more clunky. So for our weapon, we have Wrath as our aura, and we have Assassin's Mark linked to the Divergent Mark on hit. This gives a little bit extra damage. This basically automates our Assassin's Mark on bosses, and it also generates our power charges / frenzy charges. for the fight from our tree with those 2 gems. So for the other shield gems, we are using Molten Shell, Vaal Molten Shell actually, with cast when damage taken, just for whenever we take damage, we get 10k Molten Shell, and Vaal Molten Shell when you want to use it. We have Ancestral Protector, which we put down to increase our attack speed, which increases our damage quite a bit. So for our main link, we are using Inspiration, Lightning Strike Anomalous. This is important because Anomalous Lightning Strike has 1 pierce per every 10 quality. So I bought a regular Anomalous Lightning Strike and just used the Vaal Orb, and I hit Anomalous Vaal Lightning Strike. You do really want the Vaal Lightning Strike because that's a huge amount of burst, and this version gives you extra pierce, which is really important for clear. So our second gem is Awakened Added Cold, and Awakened Elemental Damage with attacks, Trinity, and finally we have Nightblade, since we are a Nightblade build. In my gloves, we have bloodrage for attack speed, Anomalous Defiance Banner. This is just a slight upgrade for more evasion armor. We have precision to make sure we have 100% accuracy, and withering step, which we keep on move button. So we always keep up elusive between that and the crits from Nightblade. We should have elusive almost all the time, which is a lot of damage and also some defense. In my boots, I have Flame Dash. This is for getting over obstacles and just some movement. We have Whirling Blades, which is our main movement skill, but sometimes if you need to go over obstacles, you obviously use Flame Dash. We have Determination. We are using Divergent for a little bit extra armor, and we finally have Grace. Okay, let's go over the cost of the build and why we are not using the Omni Amulet. So the main reason why we're not using Omni is because right here, this amulet right now we're using is like 1 Exalt. Omni Amulet is 50 Exalts or so right now, and it's just not worth it for a build unless you have unlimited money, I would say. The Omni version of this build, if you're using it, is much stronger, but as I said, it's not worth the cost. So as far as costs go, we have an 800 Elemental DPS Claw. That's about 10 to 15x. Depending on what's on sale at the market. So that's about, let's just say 10x right here. The gloves, we have additional strike +2. That's mostly for the clear. +1 is more than enough usually for basically all content. I finish all content with just a +1 strike nearby. So that is about 5x or so. It's hard to tell. So I think the base is around 5x. I self-crafted it, which isn't too hard. Maybe 10x if you buy a crafted version, but that's about 20x total. The rings are like just life and resistance. This one has fractured accuracy and this one has fractured life. So let's just say they're about 2.5x each maybe. So that's 20 and then +5, that's 25 total. Right here we have the helmet. The big mods are the enchant obviously and the non-curse aura effect implicit helm. That's maybe like 5x or so. It depends on the market. So I would say it's like 5. We'll just list it as 5 or so. So that is 30x total. My chest is fractured spell suppression, and then it takes probably maybe 1x or something to roll the implicits, maybe 1 to 2x depending on your luck. Everything else is just loathing spam, so it's not too hard to hit something at decent life because we just have, if you look at our stats, just open prefix, mana reservation, and life with the fracture suppression. So let's just say just another 10. So we are up to what? 10, 20, 30. Those things are 40. The amulet is just like a basic amulet. There's nothing special about it. It's just like 1x. So that's 41 maybe. This is like 10 chaos or something. And then the shield, I crafted it myself, so I'm not sure about the actual cost. Let's just say it's 5x maybe. It's just mostly a reduced crit damage and avoid ailments. Everything else is just, we just rolled the res on it, and then I crafted life for the prefixes. They're not that good actually. And the boots right there is just an open suffix for avoid ailments. I rolled implicits, maybe that'll take 1x or 2x. And life, movement speed, resistance. Just your basic boots, honestly. So in total we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, maybe 50 or so. I would say about 50 or so. It's around 50 for all my gear. As far as my gems go, my gems are not anything special. They're just like regular gems. Obviously, we min-maxed and got some old quality stuff, but none of that's really needed. The only thing that stands out is this one. The anomalous Vaal lightning strike for +2 pierce. That is how much now? 6. So we're at 56 or so. And then as far as my gear goes, we're using Secrets of Suffering. So that's 2x, 58. I think maybe 1x for this. This is just okay. It's not that great. It's just life and attack speed. So 57. The Unnatural Instinct, yeah, it's I think it's around 10x probably, right? Yeah. 10 or 11x, but that's super min-max. You really don't need that in the build until the last upgrade, basically. It just saves a couple points on the tree, but you don't really need that at all. It doesn't really enable anything. So if you include that, that's 60. And then my Watcher's Eye, how much is it selling for right now? 10x apparently. So total of cost of the gear is probably around 50 to 70, depending. 50 to 70 total. Versus Omni, which is 50 by itself. That's why we're not using Omni. Okay, let's go over the Pantheons really quick. So for my Pantheon, we are using Lunaris, and we are using Ryslava. Usually I use this for clearing, and then I switch to Solaris for a single target, depending on the boss. And also Aracali sometimes, if there's a lot of degen on the boss fight. But mostly just the Life Blast and these three, depending on the situation. Alright, let's go over the tree. So we start with our Ascendancy. For my Ascendancy, we start out with first to strike, last to fall. I used that while leveling, and I put that with a Divine Blessing with an aura, so I could proc that while leveling. Speeds up the leveling process since you can keep up the adrenaline. Next, I got the Unstoppable Hero, which doesn't really do anything until you get Fortify, and then finally Fortification, because you are a champ. The only reason to play champ is for Fortification, right? So we have 20 Fortify, and then finally we got Inspiration, since we are trying to stack as much aura effect as possible in this build currently. So from the beginning, we just go down here. We are going left, grabbing this life node, grabbing this. This is giving us some regen. We could travel down here. This is our leech node for life and mana, because bloodrage only does fizz attack damage. We are mostly elemental damage. This is where you get most of your leech, and it also gives the mana leech. We are grabbing this node because we are using the perseverance. This onslaught effect means we have perma onslaught, so this onslaught effect is always on. The mastery of evasion as extra armor also gives us some extra armor since we have a lot of evasion. We are using point blank since we are actually a melee build when we want to maximize our damage. The projectile should be benefiting greatly from point blank. Down here I have a interrogation for Secrets of Suffering, so we can get brittle and sapped and scorched, all three of those elemental elements. With brittle we should get 100% crit against almost every single enemy. And over here we have the Mark Mastery. This is for our Assassin's Mark. This just gives us Culling Strike against the marked enemy. And this right here, the 10% chance to gain a Frenzy charge on hit. This generates our Frenzy charges for bosses, which is really important for damage. We are going over here. This is an important life node. This gives us 20% ailment avoidance. Between that and the gear, we are completely ailment immune. And right here, the mastery is more life. We went up here for some suppression, and then we grabbed crit chance increased by chance to suppress, which is 100%, which is quite a bit damage. Grab more crit nodes for projectiles here. Went over here, grabbed this life node. Went up here for some damage and a little bit of suppression. We grabbed the frenzy charges. We have my Watcher's Eye right here. As I stated before, this has reduced damage from crits while we are affected by determination. Between that and the shield, we are crit immune. We also have attack damage while affected by precision for extra damage. We're going up here. Just some spell suppression. We got the 2%, just so we are blocking about 55% of the spells suppression. Whenever we suppress, we do 55% reduction, so we only take 45% of spell damage. So we go up here, and then we'll go to the left. To the left, we have, we're trying to get Force of Nature right here because we need some pen. And the mastery is increased damage of non-damaging ailments, which is all 3 of our Secrets of Suffering ailments. So that's more exposure, less damage from sap, and most importantly, higher brittle for a max crit. And then we grab this life node, we grab the Grace Mastery, of course. Went over here, grabbed this jewel. This jewel is just melee crit damage, and life and attack speed for claws are the main 2 important ones. We grab down here the aura nodes. We're trying to grab as many aura nodes as possible. Right now in this one we have mana efficiency reservation. I had the extra point. This is probably past 95. You get these points last. This is just more life and some attack speed, some stats right there. But the more important nodes are on this side, so that I would get this last, this section. We go over here with the dagger wheel. This is for elusive effect and 40% crit multi while we are elusive from Nightblade, which is almost always, so that's always up usually. That's a lot of damage. We are grabbing the full claw wheel. This lets us steal endurance charges and other charges for enemies, so if you roll charges for enemies you can actually steal them, which is really nice. And we are doing a Nightblade elusive mastery. A natural instinct right here, just because it's very good, very efficient. It gets life, it gets some accuracy, chaos res, mana, some stats. Overall, really good spot. Ghost stance right here, and then we grab this life wheel for more life, and then finally we have this mana reservation and aura effectiveness node. And that is my tree. Alright, so who we could kill? I kill Elder, I think, because Elder's bubble will fuck me. I think this is Elder, right? We gotta kill him ASAP, I think. Cheetah's whatever. Cortex is delayed, Shaper's whatever. I think we kill Elder ASAP. See, cause that shit. Man. That was clean.